Hi, welcome to What's That Book About? I'm your host Kevin. Today's book is going to be Vigilant by James Alan Gardner. This is the story of Faye Smallwood, a member of the Vigil, and her investigation into the mystery behind who is attacking and killing other members of her order and why it's connected to her past. Set in and expanding upon the Expendables series universe. Now, if you're lost, just go back and watch the other videos and catch up. This particular story takes place outside the human-run technocracy on a shared colony world called Demoth, shared between the humans and the Ulam. The Ulam are a bird-like humanoid alien race, and the colony itself is a democracy, with an interesting twist on the checks and balances, in the form of the Vigil, of which the main character is a member of. Now, the Vigil checks and monitors the bureaucrats and when they're making and constructing laws and following up on to see how they were implemented. And they do this by having a chip implanted into every member of the Vigil so that they can access the world's and government's AIs and all the computers. Now, the particular story takes place about 20 years after a plague that nearly decimated and killed off the entire Ulam population, but left the humans unharmed. Well, physically anyways. There's a whole lot of emotional scars for those who survived the plague. So our main character, Faye Smallwood, is the daughter of the doctor who finds the cure for the plague. And we're introduced to her at the beginning of the novel, right at the very end of the plague, where she's just a child, a teenager, helping her father's patients in his clinic for the Ulams who are suffering from the Slack Death, a slow loss of muscle control, first voluntary, then involuntary, which leads to their death. Now, during this time when she's volunteering, she meets a member of the Vigil named Zilef, who inspires her with her passion and drive and compassion for the work of a member of the Vigil. However, with the death of Zilef just so close to finding the cure, it dashes a lot of her dreams, and she puts them aside for nearly 20 years as she grows up scarred by the things that she's seen as a survivor of the plague. Okay, so that's the basic setup, and from here on in there may be a few spoilers, but you've been warned. Okay, so Faye, as a new member of the Vigil, is assigned an experienced partner to help show her the ropes and guide her through the day-to-day stuff of a field member of the Vigil. Now, on their very first assignment, they're sent to inspect and review the colony's water system and treatment plants. It's here that they're attacked by killer androids. Faye is the only one that survives, and she survives with the help of a mysterious wormhole that's described as a rainbow-colored peacock's tail. Now, Faye and her partner weren't the only ones that were attacked that day and at that time. Actually, every member that was out in the field was attacked, and not many of them survived. Naturally, the police are investigating this worldwide phenomenon, and Faye is just asked politely as a member of the Vigil to step aside so they can investigate, as it's not the Vigil's place to do police investigations. Now, with her partner dead, she's going to be assigned a new one, except so no one is assigned, someone volunteers. In fact, a master of the Vigil volunteers, a master named Tick, who's an Ulam, and in Ulam, Tick means crazy, because this guy is kind of out there, but he's crazy smart rather than crazy dangerous, although it's kind of a thin line. Now, it's at this point that the technocracy intercedes in the form of Mouth and Muscle. Not their real names, but they're a black bag team from the Admiralty that once the information that this mysterious, unusual, and active, strange wormhole has filtered up into their reports of the Vigilant and into the police network, these two come in to try to find out what it is and what secret tech it is so that they can bring it into the technocracy and bring it to the Admiralty. And since they're a black bag team, they kidnap Faye to find out what she knows and what secrets she's holding out from them, because of course she must be. Now it's at this point that actually Faye is rescued by Festina Ramos as she kicks down the door and pulls her out. Now, once Faye, Festina, and Tick all get together, they decide to investigate the mystery on their own. And well, they decide to follow up her case because, unlike all the others, she was on a surprise inspection and no one knew their itinerary. Only her partner, her dead partner, and she were the only ones that knew which ones they were going to look at or which ones they were going to visit that particular day. And since there's no evidence of anyone showing up at the other locations, they figure out that since Faye didn't tell anyone, her dead partner must have told his girlfriend. Now, when the three of them go investigate the girlfriend, they find out she's an archaeologist and she's got a actually interesting background, and the more they investigate her, the more her background doesn't hold up and her backstory seems fake. And while they investigate that, it uncovers a mystery from the old plague and the threat of a new one. Now, fortunately, at the end of the book, Faye, Festina, and Tick barely manage, with some mysterious help, to save the world from suffering another plague that could have killed the humans and other aliens that were living on Dimoth. Now, there are some pros and cons for the novel. Since the story takes place on a shared world, the author takes time to add little Ulam phrases and words into the narrative. It helps to flesh out the culture without having to stick blocks of text to describe this is what they do, why they do it. It's a lot better and it helps the flow a lot. A particular example is the Ulam translation for the vigil is to live in the real and name the lies. This kind of thing really gives a lot of strength and poetry to what the characters are doing. Now, one of the downsides for this novel is the insertion of mouth and muscle, the two black bad guys from the Admiralty and the Technocracy. They're a weak addition. They're just mostly there to help drive the plot a little bit farther and to ratchet up the tension just a little bit more, and specifically to help reintroduce Festina Ramos to this particular story, to help connect it to the world at large and the universe at large. Okay, Festina Ramos is awesome, and she's a minor character in this, so they don't go heavy-handed with her stuff, but it actually does help add a different layer from a different perspective, with both of the characters trying to solve the case for different reasons. The other thing, the polyamorous marriage. Okay, this it's not a story about praising polyamorous marriage, but actually it really works for this particular novel because it's just something that the character has in her background. It's not the focus of the novel, it's just a little bit that helps to add texture to this particular character's background. It's not a praising the multiple wives thing, but it works because every character in the polyamorous marriage is someone who survived the plague and has a lot of survivor's guilt because of it, and they end up banding together to form a family unit. And the dynamics, while just glossed over and not gone into very detail, work for the way they've set it up. In fact, because we're seeing it from Faye's point of view, a lot of the background is just telling her how she moves from being a person racked with survivor's guilt to eventually, and hating herself, to eventually coming to be able to stand herself, to be able to see herself as someone who can do some good, and to being a hero in this particular world. And make whatever judgment you feel like about polyamorous marriage. Doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect the story itself. It's just a minor little detail, but it's handled well. So in the end, what is the book about? Survivor's guilt. Not a surprise given the setup for the novel, but not just the main character is dealing with her survivor's guilt, but the world, the Ulam themselves, the minor character of Festina Ramos is also dealing with it, in that, well, she was an explorer and she's not anymore. She's an admiral. So her old career died and she's got to figure out how to pick up herself and the things and the stuff and the going on. Okay. So in the end, what is the book about? Survivor's guilt. Not a surprise given the start of the novel and the description of the story, but it is a pervasive theme that you see in not just the character and her particular arc, but in the world that they inhabit, is coming to terms with having survived the plague, and the various characters and the government, how they deal with the new attack and surviving it, and how they use what they learned from what happened in the old plague to solve what might happen with the threat of the new plague. Now, Faye isn't the only one that has survivor's guilt, though. Festina also has survivor's guilt because, well, as an explorer, her career died. She stopped being an explorer, and that was her entire life. And now she's got to learn to move on and become something new. And by the end of the book, Festina, Tick, and Faye all come to terms with what they've survived and become whole people again. And it's this reason that I have to give the book 4 stars. And while it is no longer available in print, you can still get it on the ebook for your e-reader. So go get it now. Read it, enjoy. Till next time, have a good one.